The animal kingdom has shown just how full a surprise it has. From the transparent glass frog to a fish with hands, or kind of like that, check out these strange animals that look like complete lies. I've also noticed that most of you watching this aren't subscribed yet, so if you do like the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It's absolutely free and you can always change your mind later. And with that said, enjoy the video. Number 10. The Sea Pig. Sea pigs are some of the most interesting deep-sea dwellers, living at depths of anywhere from 4,000 to 16,000 feet. Just like most animals at such depths, they depend solely on the surrounding waters for support. They also don't have any bones or exoskeleton and can only maintain their shape as long as they keep at those depths. Bringing them anywhere close to the surface immediately deflates them, and this is due to the reduced pressure. This is part of the reason why they're so difficult to study, as they lose much of their traits once they're out of the water. That being said, scientists have still been able to uncover some juicy facts about the species. For instance, due to a poorly developed respiratory system, the sea pigs breathe through the bum, which is quite something. Oh, and some will even use the anal opening as a second mouth. Away from the mouth, or whatever you wish to call it at this point, the marine creature always have several parasites that don't just suck a bit of their fluids. They bore holes into the sea pigs and feed on the internal organs. Number 9. Mouse deer. Mouse deer is what you'd expect to get if a mouse and deer were to be crossed. This isn't the case though, and in fact the species isn't even related to any of the two animals it's named after. The only close relation is with the deer, at least given that they're both ungulates. The name itself is thanks to the striking resemblance of the mouse deer to both the deer and the mouse. In terms of size though, it's vastly different from the two being significantly smaller than an average deer, but way larger than your average mouse. With average lengths of 18 inches and heights of up to 30 inches, the mouse deer holds the record for the smallest hoofed mammal alive. Generally, they're a shy bunch, coming out to graze in the evening and at night in pairs or alone, and if they're disturbed, they can submerge themselves in water for long periods of time, which is one more reason as to why they're hard to come by in the wild. For a larger part, though, their scarcity is thanks to their dwindling numbers. In fact, several mouse deer species are only known from fossil remains. Number 8. Mary River Turtle. This turtle species is exclusively found in the Mary River in Queensland, Australia, hence the name. It's among the largest turtles in the country thanks to the long tail in males, taking up 2/3 of the overall body length. The size here isn't why it's an interesting reptile, though. As far as strange animals go, the Mary River turtle has quite a lot going for it. For starters, there's the green mohawk seen in most of the turtle's photos, but this isn't part of its anatomy. It's actually algae and it grows on different parts of the turtle beside the head. Thanks again to another of the Mary River turtle's traits, it can stay underwater for up to 3 days. Things get even more interesting if you look at how the reptile can do this, though. Unlike most turtle species, it can breathe through its bum, so it's pretty much okay taking longer than usual dives. Ultimately, it makes the reptile a subject of fascination in and outside the scientific community. Both the green hair and the bum-breathing abilities are pretty helpful in the survival of many river turtles in terms of camouflage and being able to stay still until the prey is close enough or until the predator gives up. Number 7. The Leafy Sea Dragon. You've heard about camouflaging being one of the ways animals evade predators. While it does work for most species out there, none of them have perfected it to the leafy sea dragon's level. Bearing a close resemblance to the mythical dragon, the leafy sea dragon features numerous leaf-like appendages for blending into their surroundings of kelp and seaweed. To keep up with the illusion of floating plant material, leafies don't even use their leafy parts for swimming. Instead, they have a special pectoral and dorsal fin near the neck and tail, respectively, which are so small and transparent that they're almost impossible to see, even when they're moving. Their colors also help their camouflaging efforts as well. Just like seaweed, leafy sea dragons are also brown, although they contain a bit of olive and yellow shades, especially on their leaf-like appendages. Besides their appearance, leafies also have an interesting reproductive arrangement where the males are the ones solely responsible for childbearing. They have a spongy brood patch that the females deposit the eggs into during the mating process. Number 6. Handfish. Found off the eastern and southern Australian coast, the handfish proves that not every fish species has to swim. For them, walking can be just as effective, and it isn't facilitated by limbs though. Instead, the handfish has a set of modified pectoral fins that appear more like hands, hence their common and scientific names. Naturally, they stay on the ocean floor since it's more convenient as far as their mode of movement is concerned. Also, different from their swimming counterparts, handfish are pretty slow and cover a significantly tiny distance over their lifetime. This has greatly restricted their distribution, which on top of having generally small populations has made studying the species one heck of a task for researchers. The problems are further compounded by factors like climate change and human disturbances. It's really no surprise that most handfish species are considered endangered, critically endangered, or data deficient. Number 5. Macropinna. Still in the fish kingdom, the macropinna is another unusual member even more bizarre than its handfish counterpart. Its eyes in particular are something to behold. Instead of being in front of the head like most fish, they're situated inside the head and protected by a transparent, fluid-filled dome. It's actually not just the peculiar eyes that are visible in the dome. You can basically view the macropinna's various parts without having to dissect the animal. The eyes themselves are green, a property that improves their vision by filtering out direct sunlight. Given their position on top of the head, it's thought that the eyes help in spotted overhead prey that happen to momentarily block the sun's rays. This right here is perfectly in line with the macropinna, as it's usually motionless and horizontal most of the time, using its large fins for stability. It only moves once it spots one of its favorite meals, like jellyfish and many other small marine animals. So what's with these two eye-like spots at the front of the macropinna's head? Well, those apparently form part of the fish's olfactory system. Why they had to look like eyes isn't exactly clear, and to be honest, it's not clear why the fish looks that way if it does in the first place. Number 4. Worm lizard. With its pink elongated body, you can mistake a worm lizard for an earthworm, but then you see the legs and then you have to squint your eyes just to make sure you're not hallucinating. The worm lizard's appearance isn't the only confusing thing about them, though. Looking at their bone structure, and yes, they do have bones, they're closely related to snakes. However, their genes actually point to a close relation to a common group of lizards called electorids. So what exactly are they? Ultimately, they're classified as lizards under a group called Amphisbaenia, named after a Greek serpent with a second head on its tail. The name is actually a reference to the worm lizard's tail, which closely resembles the head and the fact that the reptiles can move pretty well in reverse. This group has well over 200 individual species, most of which are limbless. In fact, the limbs are only found on just 4 species classified under the Bipedale family. Spread across Asia, Africa, North America, Europe, South America, and the Caribbean, most worm lizards average lengths of 6 inches or less. They're burrowers, just like their earthworm lookalikes, using their strong, reinforced skulls to make way. Number 3. Blue Dragon. This is easily one of nature's most beautiful gifts. The blend of blue and silver is a definite showstopper as far as good-looking animals are concerned. I wouldn't be fooled, though. Just because their vibrant and showy colors are eye-candy doesn't mean the animal itself is good to touch. Blue dragons actually sting, and while they don't synthesize venom, they've evolved ways to store and use it in case they feel threatened. They get this venom from their prey, which consists of venomous marine creatures like the Portuguese man-o'-war and siphonophores. So you might want to think twice before picking up that shiny blue thing the next time you're on the beach. Also, on top of their peculiar appearance, blue dragons have also an interesting way of moving about in their aquatic habitat. Instead of simply swimming like other marine animals, they attach to the surface of the water belly up, utilizing ocean currents and winds to reach their next destination. This is where their coloration comes into play, again with the blue sides helping them to blend into the blue surface of the water. While that's going on, the silver side blends into the sun's reflection perfectly. Additionally, the blue coloration also helps reflect potentially harmful UV rays. Number 2. Glass frog. If you've ever wanted to see animal organs in action, then you need to find the glass frog that's endemic to Central and South America. Just like normal glass, the frog has see-through skin, so you can pretty much see what it looks like to have all the animal systems operational. Well, that is if you can actually find these little guys. They're pretty rare and nocturnal for the most part, spending most of their time in the trees. That being said, it's usually not the whole skin that's transparent. To see the internal organs like the liver and heart, you'll need to check out the frog from under the belly. The rest of the skin is generally green and pretty normal as you can't peer through it. While it is a fascinating feature for us, the translucent skin is way more than just a beauty statement. Scientists had a bit of figuring out to do, but it all came down to one thing: survival. The translucent legs makes the frog's shadow against leaves slightly soft, thus less noticeable to potential predators. Number 1. The Star-Nosed Mole. How would you survive in a world so dark that having eyes was useless? For the star-nosed mole, the answer lies in its name. Endemic to North America, the mole is so named thanks to its star-like nose that it uses to hunt and get around in its marshy environment. For this, the nose is equipped with well over 10,000 nerve fibers. These fibers actually tell the mole whether or not something is worth paying attention to. For some perspectives, the nose is the size of a fingertip, but is also 5 times more sensitive than the entire human hand. It's also not just about the sheer number of nerve endings. The star-nosed mole is pretty fast, too. According to National Geographic, it can touch the nose in up to 12 different places in less than a second. Additionally, the mole can also gobble up a worm in a quarter of a second, and it decides within 8 milliseconds whether or not a morsel is worth going for. Besides eating incredibly fast, the star-nosed mole has another superpower. It's one of the only 2 animals known to be able to smell underwater. To do this, the mole blows out bubbles before sucking them back into its nose with the scent. And that is our video for today, folks. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, maybe leave us a comment below and like, share, and subscribe. Later, everybody.